Like the NT Mini and the Super NT before it, Analog has released a new HD console, the Mega SG, based on Sega's Mega Drive. It's built on a customizable single circuit board. Essentially, it's a system running on a chip, and it uses hardware emulation instead of software emulation to match the innards of the Mega Drive perfectly. The pros of Analog's Mega SG are obvious. The picture looks really crisp and it's easy to set up. It's even compatible with a Mega CD if you've got one. It's not compatible with Sega's 32X though. That's because it's got its own analog output, so you're limited to using real hardware. It's expensive as well. At the moment it's retailing for $190. That's roughly around about 150 British pounds. So if you're wanting to play your Mega Drive games, what are the alternatives? The first thing you could do is you could whip up a Raspberry Pi and install RetroPie on there. With that option you're looking at a little over £50 depending on where you source your materials. The downside of that is that it is a little tempting to put games on there that you do not own. But here's a wacky idea. Why don't you use your existing Mega Drive? If you're seriously considering the Mega SG, chances are you've already heavily invested in Sega's little 16-bit system and have a whole library of games that you want to play. And if you've still got your old Mega Drive, how about just replacing the cable? Now you're probably thinking, oh, I don't want to use my old Mega Drive, the picture sucks on my new TV. Well then, get a new cable. It might surprise you that a number of sellers have got new RGB cables for your old video game systems, and the picture quality you get from them is actually pretty staggering. Hello fellow gamers, and I'm here to show you how this little cable can breathe new life into your Mega Drive. If you got your Mega Drive back in the 90s, chances are you had one of two cables that came with the system. The first being RF, which connects into your TV's aerial port, and the quality is absolutely abysmal. The second is Composite, which consists of the yellow, white and red cables. Now this is a step up from RF, however you've probably noticed a blurry shimmering mess when you've connected it to your HD TV. In fact, it's widely known that the Mega Drive has the worst composite video output of any of the consoles from that generation. Now here's where the SCART RGB cable comes into play. With RGB, the picture is split up into three distinct feeds. Now I'm not going to explain all of this to you because I believe the guys at My Life in Gaming has done a fantastic job at explaining how RGB cables can give you a much better picture on your old consoles. I got my cable from Retro Gaming Cables. They've got a whole variety of different RGB cables for different systems, and the prices tend to be around about £25 to £30 each. Now you may scoff at that price, but there's a couple of things you should consider. Firstly is the price difference between getting a new cable and buying the Mega SG. The second is the picture quality difference between this and what you've got already. The connector used for these RGB cables is called SCART, which is a European standard. If you live outside of Europe, you're probably going to have a bit of trouble setting up your system to use SCART. Now the beauty of living in the UK is that your TV very likely already has a SCART socket built into it, which is fully compatible with these RGB cables. In fact, if you've got an old CRT lying around, that's probably compatible too. But instead of me just talking about it, why don't I just show you the difference? Roll the clip. Well, first off, let's try Sonic the Hedgehog, a classic. And straight away you can see here that the colours are all bleeding in together on the composite picture. There's also a lot of bloom on there as well, which is making it overly bright. On the text there you can see quite a bit of a difference. The RGB is much sharper. Now, a detail which I noticed on here was the grass. It looks like a lot of the grass is just one colour, it's just one shade of green, but on the RGB you can see all of the individual rectangles, you know, as part of the 80s aesthetic as they were going for. We're zoomed in now and you can see that, well, there's a lot of a blurry mess, but the RGB in comparison, it's quite a lot sharper. Now of course you can't have Sonic without Knuckles, so let's give this one a shot. Again, straight away you can see that the colours are all bleeding together. In fact, just do a comparison of the logo and the character selection text and you can see that the RGB one is much sharper. Just like Sonic 1, the grass colour seems to all bleed together. It all looks like just one colour, whereas on the RGB you can make out all of the detail. Not to mention the shading on Knuckles' dreads as well. Comparing the two side by side, it just seems like night and day. Now last but not least, let's stick on Virtua Racing. In fact, this is the only Mega Drive game that has the Sega Virtua processor built into it, the SVP. Which is supposed to be Sega's answer to Nintendo's Super FX chip, like with Star Wing or with Super Mario World 2. And you can see it here in all its brilliance. The composite picture does seem to take away some of the shading between the polygons, and all of the text is really blurry. But stick on the RGB and the text is much sharper and you can see much more detail. So there you go, that's what the RGB cable can do for your old Mega Drive. But what do you think? Are you considering getting one of these instead of a Mega SG? Let me know in the comments down below. But anyway, I'm not going to take you away from your games any longer. I'll catch you all next time. Thank you so much for watching the vid, guys. Liked it? Disliked it? If you've got a second, let me know how you felt down below. And while you're down there, if you want to see more of what I have to offer, go ahead and subscribe. I've got loads more ideas for future videos and I wouldn't want you to miss out. Oh, and here's all the other social media gubbins as well. Thanks again for watching, and you have yourself a great day.